What if the real reason stubborn belly fat won't go away has less to do with calories and more to do with one powerful hormone, insulin? Most of us are taught that losing weight is just about eating less and moving more, but what if that's only half the story? Because even when you eat perfectly and exercise regularly, if your insulin levels stay high, your body can't actually burn fat efficiently. You see, insulin isn't the enemy, it's a messenger. Its job is to move sugar from your bloodstream into your cells for energy. But when your body becomes resistant to insulin, often from years of stress, irregular eating, processed foods, or poor sleep, it starts sending out more and more of it. And when insulin stays high all the time, it locks fat inside your cells, especially around your belly, where it becomes really hard to lose. That's why so many people say, I'm doing everything right, but nothing's working. Their metabolism isn't broken, it's just blocked. And the good news is you can actually reset that system. There's a simple research-backed method that helps your body become more sensitive to insulin again, so it can start releasing stored fat naturally, without crash diets, without skipping meals, and without spending hours at the gym. When that happens, your energy starts to stabilize, cravings fade, and your body begins using fat for fuel again, just like it was designed to do. It's not magic, it's biology. And once you understand how to work with your hormones instead of against them, you'll finally see the kind of results that last. Have you ever noticed how certain foods or eating times change your hunger or your energy levels? Pay attention to that. Your body's always communicating. And I'd love to hear your experience in the comments. It might really help someone else watching. Insulin is one of those words that gets tossed around a lot when we talk about weight loss, but most people don't really understand what it does. It's not a villain, and it's definitely not something to fear. Insulin is actually one of the body's most important regulators. It helps you stay alive. Think of it like a traffic officer that directs where your energy should go. When you eat, especially foods that contain carbohydrates, your blood sugar rises. In response, your pancreas releases insulin, whose job is to move that sugar out of your bloodstream and into your cells, where it can be used for energy. The problem isn't insulin itself, it's how often it gets called into action. If you're constantly eating, snacking, or consuming sugary foods and drinks, your body never gets a break. Each spike in blood sugar triggers a new surge of insulin. Over time, your cells can become less responsive to insulin's signal. It's kind of like if someone keeps ringing your doorbell every 5 minutes, you eventually stop answering. This is called insulin resistance, and when it happens, your pancreas pumps out even more insulin to compensate. Now, here's the tricky part. When insulin levels are high, your body can't burn fat effectively. Instead, it goes into storage mode. Insulin is like a gatekeeper. When it's elevated, fat cells lock up their energy and refuse to let it out. That's why people who struggle with insulin resistance often feel stuck. They might be eating less, exercising more, and still not losing weight. Their bodies are trapped in fat storage mode because insulin keeps telling their cells to hold on to energy instead of using it. Think of it like this. Imagine you've got a fridge full of food, but the power goes out and the door is stuck shut. You've got plenty of energy stored inside, but you can't access it. So even though you're technically full of fuel, your body feels tired, hungry, and sluggish. That's exactly what happens when insulin resistance sets in. Your cells are overflowing with stored energy, but insulin prevents that energy from being released, so your body keeps sending hunger signals, craving quick sugar fixes to compensate. And here's where it gets even more frustrating. Two people can eat the exact same meal, but their bodies will respond completely differently depending on their insulin sensitivity. Someone with healthy insulin levels can process that food efficiently, using it for energy and moving on. But if your insulin is chronically high, the same meal can get stored as fat instead of burned for fuel. It's not about willpower or discipline, it's about hormones and timing. Stress plays a surprisingly big role here too. When you're stressed, your body releases cortisol, a hormone that raises blood sugar to give you quick energy. That spike triggers insulin, and if you're under constant stress, emotional, physical, or even lack of sleep, your insulin levels can stay elevated even without eating a lot of sugar. So it's not just about diet. Your sleep, your emotional health, and even how often you take breaks during the day all affect how your body handles insulin. You might recognize this pattern in your own life. Maybe you've tried cutting calories or skipping meals, and it worked for a while, but then your energy crashed, cravings hit hard, and the weight crept back. That's because the root issue wasn't just the number of calories, it was how your body was responding to insulin. When insulin resistance is present, your metabolism slows down and your fat stores become stubborn. It's like your body is guarding them, refusing to let go because it's stuck in a state of imbalance. But the body is smart and it can heal. When you start to lower your insulin levels naturally by spacing your meals, managing stress, sleeping better, and choosing foods that don't cause rapid sugar spikes, your cells begin to listen again. Insulin sensitivity improves and your metabolism starts to open up. Suddenly, fat that once felt impossible to lose starts to release, your energy stabilizes, and your appetite feels calmer. This shift doesn't happen overnight, but it's incredibly empowering once you understand it. Because when you realize insulin is the key switch controlling whether your body stores or burns fat, you stop blaming yourself for lack of willpower and start working with your biology instead of against it. And that's when sustainable change becomes possible, not through punishment or restriction, but through understanding how your body actually works. Not all fat is created equal. Most people think of fat as something that just sits under the skin, the kind you can pinch on your stomach or thighs. But the fat that really causes problems, the kind that's stubborn, dangerous, and linked to chronic health issues, is visceral fat. This type of fat hides deep inside your abdomen, wrapping around your organs like your liver, pancreas, and intestines. It's not just stored energy, it's metabolically active, meaning it behaves more like an organ itself, constantly sending out chemical signals that affect the rest of your body. When insulin resistance develops, visceral fat becomes the first and biggest target. High insulin levels tell your body to store energy, and visceral fat cells are especially sensitive to those signals. So even if your weight on the scale doesn't change much, the composition of where your body stores fat does. That's why you might notice that belly fat seems to build up faster or becomes harder to lose even when the rest of your body looks relatively lean. It's your body's response to chronic insulin exposure. Here's where the cycle becomes vicious. Visceral fat isn't just sitting there quietly. It releases inflammatory chemicals, cytokines that interfere with how your cells respond to insulin. So the more visceral fat you have, the more inflammation your body produces, and the more resistant your cells become to insulin. It's a feedback loop. High insulin creates more visceral fat, and visceral fat makes insulin resistance even worse. Over time, this process can slow metabolism, increase cravings, and make it feel nearly impossible to burn stored fat. No matter how hard you try, what makes visceral fat so harmful is how it interacts with your liver. When too much fat builds up around the organs, some of it seeps into the liver itself, leading to fatty liver disease, even in people who don't drink much alcohol. Once the liver becomes insulin resistant, it starts pumping out extra glucose into your bloodstream, which triggers even higher insulin levels. It's a chain reaction that traps your metabolism in a constant state of fat storage. A lot of people think belly fat is just about appearance, but it's actually one of the clearest external signs of an internal imbalance. If you've ever noticed that your waistline expands easily, even without major changes in diet, or that your hunger feels unpredictable. Sometimes you're starving, other times you could skip a meal and not notice. Those are clues that your body's insulin response is out of sync. The fat around your organs is influencing your hormones, your hunger signals, and your energy levels all at once. But here's the hopeful part. Research shows that visceral fat is also the most responsive type of fat when you start improving your insulin sensitivity. In fact, studies have found that when insulin levels begin to drop, even slightly, the body often prioritizes burning visceral fat first. That's because this fat is highly metabolically active, and once the hormonal signals shift from store to burn, it can shrink surprisingly fast. People often notice their waistline tightening, energy increasing, and digestion improving even before seeing big changes in overall weight. This process is known as restoring metabolic flexibility, your body's ability to switch between burning glucose and burning fat for energy. When insulin resistance is high, your metabolism gets stuck in sugar burning mode. You constantly crave carbs because your cells can't efficiently access stored fat for fuel. But as insulin sensitivity improves, your body regains its flexibility. You can go longer between meals without crashing, your cravings calm down, and your energy becomes steady instead of spiking and dipping throughout the day. Even small, consistent changes can make a big difference here. Studies show that improving sleep, managing stress, and choosing foods that keep blood sugar steady, like protein, fiber, and healthy fats, can all lower insulin levels and help reduce visceral fat. The key isn't perfection, it's consistency. Every time you lower your insulin, even a little, you're teaching your body to use fat for fuel again. And that's what makes this process so empowering. Once you understand that belly fat isn't just a cosmetic issue, but a hormonal and metabolic signal, you can stop fighting your body and start healing it. The goal isn't to chase a number on the scale. It's to restore balance, calm inflammation, and give your body permission to burn the fat it's been holding onto for protection. When that happens, weight loss becomes a natural side effect of health, not a punishment or a struggle. The good news is you don't have to overhaul your life or live on green juice to reset your insulin levels. Doctors and researchers have found that one of the most powerful ways to restore insulin sensitivity isn't about cutting out entire food groups. It's about when and how you eat. It's about working with your body's natural rhythms instead of fighting them. Think of it like resetting your internal clock so your metabolism knows exactly when to store energy and when to release it. Your body wasn't designed to be eating all day long. Every time you take a bite, even something small like a handful of chips or a sugary coffee, your pancreas releases insulin to handle the incoming sugar. When eating happens too frequently, insulin never has a chance to come back down. But when you give your body regular breaks between meals, insulin levels naturally fall, and your fat cells finally get the signal that it's safe to start releasing stored energy again. That's why meal timing, sometimes called metabolic spacing, is one of the simplest yet most effective insulin reset tools doctors recommend. One practical way to apply this is by allowing at least 3 to 4 hours between meals and giving your body a 12-hour overnight window without food. That could look like finishing dinner at 7 p.m. and eating breakfast around 7 a.m. This gentle rhythm gives insulin time to drop while you sleep, which helps your body shift back into fat burning mode overnight. You don't need to force long fasts or skip meals. It's about consistency and rhythm, not restriction. The second part of the insulin reset has to do with balance. Not all foods affect insulin the same way. When you eat carbohydrates on their own, especially refined ones like white bread or sugary snacks, they cause your blood sugar to spike quickly, leading to a sharp rise in insulin. But when you pair those same carbs with protein, fiber, or healthy fats, the absorption slows down. This means your blood sugar stays steadier, insulin doesn't surge, and your body stays in a calm, balanced state. For example, instead of eating a piece of toast alone, try adding avocado or eggs. Or if you're craving something sweet, have a few almonds alongside it. Small adjustments like these can dramatically reduce your insulin response. It's not about removing the foods you love. It's about creating combinations that support your body instead of stressing it. Another key insight from research is how much timing affects your hormonal balance throughout the day. Your body is more insulin sensitive in the morning and early afternoon, meaning it can process carbohydrates more efficiently during those hours. Eating heavier, carb-rich meals late at night, on the other hand, tends to spike insulin and encourage fat storage. So if you can aim to eat your biggest meal earlier in the day and keep dinner lighter and balanced with protein and vegetables. This one shift can make a huge difference in how your body stores and burns energy. And it's not just food timing that matters. Stress and sleep play a big part too. When you're stressed or not sleeping well, your body releases more cortisol, which keeps blood sugar and insulin higher than normal. Many doctors describe insulin sensitivity as a 24-hour system, meaning that what happens at night affects your metabolism during the day. Getting even 1 extra hour of quality sleep or spending a few minutes in deep breathing before meals can lower stress hormones and make your body more responsive to insulin. This isn't about restriction, it's about regulation. It's about teaching your body to feel safe again, so it doesn't cling to energy out of survival mode. When your meals are balanced and your eating pattern is consistent, insulin levels stabilize, hunger cues normalize, and fat burning becomes natural again. You'll start noticing that your energy feels smoother, that you're full longer after meals, and that the intense cravings you used to battle start to fade. And the best part, you don't have to get everything perfect to see results. Even small improvements, eating mindfully, allowing breaks between meals, and combining carbs with protein create a ripple effect that brings your metabolism back into alignment. The goal isn't to diet harder, It's to eat in a way that communicates safety and stability to your body. Because when your body feels safe, it stops holding on to fat and starts releasing it one meal at a time. A lot of people who struggle with stubborn weight eventually turn to extreme solutions. Keto, low-carb diets, or long fasting windows, hoping to finally break through the plateau. And while these methods can sometimes produce fast results at first, for many people, they eventually stop working. You might lose a few pounds, feel great for a couple of weeks, and then suddenly hit a wall. Your energy crashes, your cravings come back stronger, and your mood starts to dip. It's not because you've failed, it's because your body is under stress. Keto and long fasts both work by lowering insulin levels. When you cut carbs drastically or go without food for long periods, insulin naturally drops, and your body starts burning stored fat for fuel. That's why these approaches can work in the short term. But the problem is that when you push your body too hard for too long, it interprets that stress as danger. Your cortisol levels, the body's main stress hormone, start to rise, and cortisol has a direct impact on blood sugar and insulin. It tells your body to hold on to energy just in case. So even though insulin may be lower for a while, high cortisol can actually cancel out the benefits by signaling your body to conserve fat instead of releasing it. You've probably seen this happen or felt it yourself. Someone starts a strict diet, skips breakfast, cuts out carbs, and powers through for a few weeks, and at first they drop weight. But soon they start feeling cold, anxious, or exhausted. Sleep gets worse, appetite goes up, and weight loss stalls. This is your body's survival mechanism kicking in. It's trying to protect you from what it perceives as starvation. And if that stress continues, insulin sensitivity can actually worsen over time, making fat loss harder once you go back to eating normally. Keto can be especially tricky for this reason. It works by forcing the body into ketosis, burning fat for energy instead of carbohydrates, but maintaining that balance requires extreme restriction. The moment carbs are reintroduced, insulin spikes sharply, and much of the lost water weight and fat come back. Many doctors now recognize that while keto can be a useful therapeutic tool in certain medical conditions, it's not sustainable or necessary for most people trying to improve insulin sensitivity or lose fat long term. The truth is, your body doesn't need extremes to heal. It needs rhythm, stability, and nourishment. The better approach is gentle insulin optimization, a balanced way of eating and living that lowers insulin without stressing the body. Instead of cutting out entire food groups or fasting for 20 hours a day, this method uses simple principles like consistent meal timing, balanced macronutrients, and adequate sleep. It helps you lower insulin levels gradually while keeping cortisol in check. When your body isn't under pressure, it starts to trust that energy is available, and that safety signal is what allows fat to be released steadily. For example, eating protein and fiber with each meal helps stabilize blood sugar and prevents insulin spikes. Having regular meals at predictable times teaches your metabolism to relax. It doesn't have to panic about when the next meal is coming. Getting enough sleep and managing daily stress also play a huge role, because when cortisol stays low, insulin stays low naturally. The beauty of this approach is that it feels calm and sustainable. You're not fighting against your body. You're teaching it to function the way it was meant to. People who switch from strict dieting to insulin regulation often describe a completely different kind of progress. They notice steady energy instead of peaks and crashes, clearer focus, better digestion, and fewer cravings. The weight that once seemed stuck around their belly starts to release gradually, and they don't feel deprived or burned out. That's because the body finally feels safe enough to let go of stored fat. You're not forcing it. You're inviting it. In the end, what works better than keto or long fasts isn't more discipline or restriction, it's balance. True metabolic healing comes from lowering insulin gently, not dramatically. You can absolutely achieve the same fat burning results faster. With better mood, stable energy, and lasting results when you align with your natural biology. This is what most people miss. Your metabolism doesn't need to be shocked into change. It needs to be soothed into balance. Once you create that internal calm, your hormones start to cooperate, your metabolism begins to flow again, and fat loss becomes an effortless side effect of health, not a constant battle. Once you understand how insulin works, the next step is learning how to gently guide your body back into its natural fat burning mode. Not by doing something extreme, but through small, daily habits that keep your blood sugar balanced and your metabolism calm. This is where real lasting change happens. Because fat burning isn't something you have to force, it's something your body naturally does when the right signals are in place. One of the simplest ways to start is by focusing on how you begin each meal. Eating protein first makes a surprisingly big difference. When you start a meal with protein, like eggs, fish, Greek yogurt, or chicken, it slows down how quickly your blood sugar rises, which keeps your insulin levels steady. It also triggers hormones that signal fullness to your brain, reducing cravings later in the day. Studies show that people who eat protein before carbohydrates experience up to 30% lower blood sugar spikes after meals. It's such a small shift, but it completely changes how your body processes the same foods. Breakfast is another key opportunity to reset your metabolism for the entire day. If your first meal is loaded with sugar, say cereal, pastries, or flavored coffee, you'll be on a roller coaster of cravings and fatigue all morning. But when you start with a balanced breakfast, something like eggs with vegetables, Greek yogurt with berries, or oats with nuts, you set a different tone. Your insulin stays lower, your energy stays stable, and your hunger becomes predictable instead of reactive. Think of breakfast as setting your body's metabolic rhythm for the day. When you get it right, your body stays in fat burning mode longer between meals. Another powerful habit is avoiding constant grazing. Most people eat far more often than they realize. A handful of chips here, a few bites there, or sipping on sugary drinks throughout the day. Every one of those snacks signals insulin to rise, which interrupts fat burning. Your body needs downtime between meals to clear insulin from your system and access stored fat. That's why spacing your meals 3 to 4 hours apart, without snacking in between, can be such a game changer. It gives your metabolism breathing room, allowing insulin to drop naturally. Hydration also plays a subtle but crucial role in how your metabolism functions. Even mild dehydration can slow down fat oxidation, the process of converting stored fat into usable energy. Drinking enough water helps your body transport nutrients, flush out metabolic waste, and support insulin sensitivity. If you often confuse hunger with fatigue or cravings, try having a glass of water first. Sometimes your body isn't asking for food, it's just asking for hydration. Herbal teas or water infused with lemon or cucumber can make this habit feel more enjoyable and sustainable. Movement is another natural way to enhance insulin sensitivity without needing long, intense workouts. Even a 10-minute walk after meals has been shown to help your muscles absorb glucose more efficiently, lowering post-meal insulin spikes. Gentle, consistent activity, walking, stretching, light resistance training signals to your body that energy is being used and encourages fat to be released for fuel. The goal isn't to burn calories through effort, but to teach your body that movement is normal, safe, and consistent. Sleep and stress management are the invisible foundations of this whole process. When you don't get enough sleep, your cortisol levels rise, which in turn raises insulin and drives cravings for quick energy foods. Prioritizing rest, even 30 minutes more per night, can dramatically improve insulin sensitivity, and simple calming practices like deep breathing, mindfulness, or even stepping outside for sunlight in the morning help balance your stress hormones, keeping your metabolism in a more responsive state. The beautiful thing about this approach is how forgiving it is. You don't have to do everything perfectly. Your body responds to small, consistent improvements. When you eat protein first, balance your meals, avoid grazing, and stay hydrated, you're training your body to rely on stored fat instead of sugar. You'll notice steadier energy, fewer mood swings, and a gradual lightness, both physically and mentally. Over time, these small actions create a powerful ripple effect. Your cells become more insulin sensitive, your metabolism starts to flow naturally, and fat burning becomes something that happens automatically in the background, not something you have to chase or fight for. It's not about being strict. It's about being steady. When you build a daily rhythm that supports your hormones, your body takes care of the rest. You start to feel the shift, calm energy, clear focus, and a body that finally works with you, not against you. When people first hear about insulin and fat loss, they often think it's just another diet trick. But what's really happening when you restore insulin sensitivity goes far beyond losing weight. It's about healing your metabolism from the inside out. Because insulin doesn't only control fat storage, it's connected to almost every system in your body, your energy, your hormones, your mood, even your brain function. When insulin levels are balanced, everything else begins to align too. Think about how you feel when your blood sugar crashes. You get tired, irritable, maybe foggy-headed. That's your body running out of quick energy because insulin has been swinging up and down all day. When insulin sensitivity improves, those swings smooth out. Your cells can access energy steadily, which means your brain gets a constant fuel supply. Focus improves, your mood stabilizes, and you stop needing caffeine or sugar to get through the afternoon. Many people describe it like their mental fog finally lifting, not because of a supplement or stimulant, but because their energy system is working the way it's supposed to. Balanced insulin also reduces inflammation, which is one of the biggest drivers of fatigue, bloating, and long-term disease. When insulin is constantly high, it signals your body to produce inflammatory molecules. That inflammation doesn't just affect your joints or digestion, it interferes with your hormones, disrupts sleep, and makes you feel older than you are. But when insulin levels start to normalize, inflammation calms down. You might notice your skin clearing up, your digestion feeling smoother, or your joints moving more freely. These are signs that your body is healing from within. This process also supports your hormonal balance in ways many people don't realize. Insulin interacts with almost every other hormone in your body, including estrogen, cortisol, and thyroid hormones. When insulin is high, it throws all of them off. It can lead to symptoms like irregular cycles, stubborn weight gain, and energy crashes. But when you restore insulin sensitivity, your hormonal system finds its rhythm again. Your body starts working in sync, and that harmony shows up in how you feel every day, calmer, clearer, and more stable. Your heart benefits too. High insulin levels contribute to higher triglycerides, high blood pressure, and plaque buildup in arteries. But when insulin sensitivity improves, your cardiovascular system relaxes, blood vessels become more responsive, cholesterol balances out, and your heart works more efficiently. It's one of the reasons doctors call insulin resistance the silent root of so many chronic issues, and why reversing it is one of the most powerful health moves you can make, even beyond fat loss. What's beautiful about this healing process is how sustainable it becomes when you approach it with care instead of force. You don't need extreme diets or punishing workouts. You just need consistency, steady meals, mindful eating, enough rest, and gentle movement. These choices send a message to your body you're safe. And when your body feels safe, it stops holding on to excess fat, water, and tension. It begins to repair instead of protect. So instead of thinking about insulin optimization as another weight loss strategy, think of it as building trust with your body again. Every time you eat a balanced meal, every time you get a good night's sleep, every time you take a few deep breaths before reacting to stress, you're signaling to your body that it can relax. And when your body relaxes, healing becomes automatic. Your metabolism doesn't need to be pushed. It just needs to be supported. It's not a quick fix, and that's actually a good thing. Quick fixes fade, but deep healing lasts. When you give your body stability and care, it begins to remember how to function optimally on its own. Fat loss, clearer focus, steady energy, these are just side effects of health. What you're really doing is teaching your body to feel balanced, nourished, and safe again. And that's when everything changes, not because you forced it, but because you finally gave your body permission to work the way it was designed to.